Hey everyone, Vintage Vinny here, and today I'm doing a different kind of video. I want to share with you all why I don't really source auctions as much. So a lot of what I'm going to be talking about is solely on personal experience and just my own personal preferences when it comes to auctions. Now, I don't really want you to take this to heart and say, oh, I'm never going to source auctions, because that's not really what I want to get out of this. I want you to all to see what my perspective on auctions are and sort of how to make your judgment. So I have a list of stuff here in front of me that I want to mention to you all. I want to give more positive and negative, or try to combine the two, just to show you what I feel overall the benefits and the doubts to going to auctions. So one of the first things that I want to mention about auctions is being able to get stuff really cheap. That is extremely true. You can get box lots really cheap, or you can get even newer appliances that were very expensive in stores pretty cheap, and I've seen that happen before, which is a really good plus in my part. An auction is a great way to meet people as well. Now, moving to a smaller part of town, or of a town, it kind of gives you a chance to, learn about the locals, what they're there for, how long they've been around since we're new here. So that's a great little way to meet others, I think. It's also a very good social environment. You get to talk to people. You get to see, oh, what are you here for? Oh, I'm here for the dolls, or I'm here for the Gone with the Wind stuff. I'm here for just collectibles, vintage stuff, things like that. And like I just said, everything at auctions, it doesn't have to be for resale. It can always be for everyday life. Like, for example, you could get decorations that were $60 at a department store for less than $5, or you could get major household appliances that were $100, and you can probably get them for $10, $15, brand new. And that's a really good benefit to you, especially if you're trying to be on a budget. It's also a great way to accumulate a lot of stuff. And now I'll mention more of that in the cons, but if you're looking to start a business, or even if you do flea markets, auctions are a great place to go, especially for the box lots, because you can accumulate a great amount of stuff, and you can put it out at markets and sell it for a few dollars here or there. So you can still make money, which is awesome. And an auction is also a great way to see what sells, and you learn to see what sells, because sometimes when you're out and about and you see certain things, you're like, oh, it's a coin, it's never going to sell, there are so many out there. Well, when we went to this auction this past weekend, we saw a lot of coins selling for a lot of money, and part of it was because it was gold or silver, but even still, collectors will go to places like this, and you learn to keep an eye out for certain things. And again, another bulk buy. For example, like, let's say I wanted a Coke tray, and nobody was bidding on it. So what they will do is they will add something else to that lot, to, of course, move the stuff out, but also to encourage more buyers to bid. So you can get more things for better money, or at least I think, or for a cheaper price. And auctions are also a great place to go when the flea market and yard sale seasons are pretty much in, which is like the late fall and into the winter time, because you can't really go to flea markets or anything like that because nobody sets up. If you hear a air conditioning unit go off, I apologize. I have the windows open because it's nice out. So yeah, that's definitely a great way to get your fix, especially when, like, the thrift stores in my area are not all that great. Plus, I don't have a car, and plus I'm not working right now, so great place to go for that. And also, I think another thing that is great are the box lots. The box lots are full of potential. You just never know what's in there. Perfect example of this is when we were there this past weekend. Dad was sifting through a box of linens. He found a really cool 1950s Roy Rogers children's costume shirt. And I think he paid $5 for the box, and he's going to sell that shirt for about $50. So just goes to show you that you can always find a diamond in the rough, even if it is mixed in with a bunch of junk. But that is the fun to me, is digging through all the stuff. And another thing that I don't think a lot of people think about when it comes to auctions are furniture. Auctions are some of the best places to get furniture, whether you're furnishing a house or you're looking to put stuff in a booth or whatever. I will tell you, this place we went to this past weekend, a really large desk that would look awesome in an office that was probably purchased at maybe, I don't know, Office Max or some office store that was probably $400, $500, $600 sold for $5, and it was huge. It had cabinets, it had a place for a desktop, had a place for you to do paperwork, whatever you needed to do, it was there, and it was unbelievable how cheap it was. So yeah, auctions are great for furniture. I think so. A couple of the pieces that I used to have in my old bedroom were from an auction, and I didn't pay anything for them, or hardly anything for them. With all the positives being said, I do think that there are a few cons. Like I mentioned earlier, how bulk buying can also help you get more stuff. That's also a downfall, because you could be stuck with merchandise that you didn't even want. So it kind of, in a way, is a bit of a waste of money, but if you get the one item that you wanted and you're just stuck with a bunch of other stuff, then you can be satisfied. One thing that is a huge issue for me, and this is also an issue of generations past, is a patience issue. I do not have patience for auctions at all, because we've gone to several when I was much younger, and, you know, I'd see one item and I'd get so set on trying to win it and get it, and then I wouldn't get it because I would get outbid or it would just go for too much. So I would always get disappointed in that. But then again, that's just me, and it's a patience thing. I'm a very impulsive buyer, especially as a reseller and as a collector, because when I see something that I want to get it in the now. I don't want to wait for it or have to sit around for hours and then lo and behold find out that I can't get it because it was too much or I got outbid. So that's more on a personal scale for me. It's just I don't have patience, and I gave it a shot after not going to an auction for probably 5 or 6 years. Maybe it was more 4 or 5 years. So I gave it a shot again, and I just don't feel it. I mean, again, that's a personal preference. That's not what you should do. And another thing that I want to mention is, while it's a great social environment and you know you get to talk to people, you can also run into some really, really rude individuals. Perfect example of this, there's a guy that used to go to some of the auctions in some of the other areas around where we used to live. And he's just very negative. His presence does not give me good vibes. So, Dad finds this to be pretty funny. He and Dad will bid on the same kind of stuff. You know, they like the collectibles, the stuff that I like. And, you know, when he doesn't get it for the price that he wants to, he's just got a really bad attitude. And I don't like that. And I guess you could call him a sore loser. And I hate to use that word, but it's true. If you'd have met him, or not met him, but if you'd have seen his behavior and his body language when he doesn't get something for the price that he wants, he's very much a sore loser, and I don't like his presence. And I just can't. I don't like him. And what Dad does at the auction, especially because they bid on the same kind of stuff, the guy that we can't stand would get something for a cheaper price, Dad will bid him up, 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 bid him up. So, you know, and he finds it to be hilarious, and I mean, in a way it is, because sometimes my dad will get the item that the other guy wanted, and he'll just sit there and pout, and I'm just thinking, you know, this guy he's got some problems. I don't really care, but anyway, enough said about that. Another thing that I don't think a lot of people think about when it comes to sourcing auctions is paying a buyer's premium, which is basically the auction company charging you, I don't know what it is, 10% or something of that nature. So they charge you to buy stuff through them, which, you know, in a sense, I get it. The auction houses have to make money, and, you know, I'm sure that's how they make their money, aside from the, I guess what do you want to call it, a commission or something like that, where they take a certain percentage of the sales from the seller. So I get that's how they have to make money, but take that into consideration, and not every auction house has the same percentage for the buyer's premium. But I just want to put that into your heads. Sometimes when it comes to bulk buying or buying box lots, sometimes you'll spend a lot of money and it won't be on anything too special. You could just be buying junk, which, I mean, it's always a crapshoot, don't get me wrong. Even though you can sift through some of the boxes, you really have to pay attention to where the auctioneer is and what boxes are being sold off at that time, because you could get a box that you thought had some great stuff in it and realize that you just spent $20 on a bunch of junk. But then again, it's all about risk, and you're willing to take that risk by paying that $20. Also, another thing that you have to take into consideration is that something could sell for way more than what it's worth, Perfect example of this is I saw this really cool 1962 Cleopatra doll that was actually Liz Taylor, because if you know, she played Cleopatra in 1963. Actually, they did films in the early 60s, but you get my point. She was the star of Cleopatra in 1963. So I saw a doll there, and I was like, I'd never seen anything like that before, so why don't I go ahead and bid on that? And I'm sure that that probably went over $70, $80, $90. To me, that's not worth it, and I even looked up that doll to see if I could find any. I only found one, and it was on eBay, and they were charging about $277, and it hadn't sold, so clearly that doll was probably not worth nearly as much as somebody thought it was. So I do want to give a shout out to Nikki the Poplar Picker, because I know she either will love or hate this video, because it really is something that's more on her level, because I know she does tend to find the thrift store prices, especially where she is, a little bit more pricey than I think even the average person would pay for something, because she does do a lot of auctions and she does tend to do very well with them. So I don't want to give you all the impression that this is what you should think of auctions. You need to form your own opinion about that. And you also need to decide whether or not you think that this is a good place to source for you. Like I said, if it's during the time of year when yard sales and stuff aren't really or they're not taking place as much, or they're not taking place at all, definitely give it a try, especially if you've never done it. To me, it's not something I would want to do, because again, it's a patience issue. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say to you guys today. I do have a few more videos coming out about certain places where you should source. I also have a cook tray collection update that I want to do, and many other videos that I've been wanting to do. Just been kind of slacking on it. I've been lazy, not doing very much, which is, of course, not good for me. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment below. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. If you want to follow me on other social media accounts, that's all linked in the description box below. Thank you for watching.